So, good day, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you're watching me from. I remain one and your only, Mazes here. This afternoon, or rather this evening, I will be looking at the conversation today will center on the spotlight on the Edo State governorship election and what is going to happen within the next month. Oshomole versus Obaseki. This afternoon, I will have some people joining me. I have here in the studio Edwin Agombo. And at the same time, I have here Mr. Charles Mecheletti. And I would first of all allow Mr. Edwin to introduce himself. Mr. Edwin.
Well, thank you very much, Mazi, and to listeners tuning on this show. I'm Edwin Ogumbo, Chairman Governing Council of the Federal Polytechnic Nekede in Owerri, Imo State. I'm a card-carrying member of the APC from Edo State. The reason my interest in coming into this show to talk about our state and the political situation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. As you all know, as he said, Mr. Chief Edwin Agombo is the Chairman Governing Council, Federal Polytechnic, Nekede in Imo State. And at the same time, I have here from Ghana, Charles Mecheletti. Chairman, good afternoon, and introduce yourself. I think for some reason the network booted out Mr. Charles from Ghana, but I have, I have Victor Oshioke. Mr. Victor, are you driving? Hello, Victor, can you hear me? I think Victor has some issue with his connection, so let's carry on. Once they sort out the issue with their connections, then we'll bring them back. So the issue and the discussion this evening, sir, is going to center on Edo State. As I said, as the introduction is, this conversation today is going to be Oshomole versus Obaseki. We are going to look at we are going to be spotlighting the Edo State governorship election. Now, every person who has been following what has been happening within the state will know that all is not entirely well with Edo State. That is the reason why we will be discussing this today. Now, I think Charles is back on. Let me bring Charles back on, and I'll bring Victor. So, Victor and Charles, both of you are back on. So, Charles, over to you now.
Yeah, good evening, listeners. And good evening, my honorable gentlemen.
Thank you very much.
Mazi, thank you for the audience.
Okay,
I'm Charles Smith, Chairman APC Ghana from Benin, Edo State.
You're welcome, sir. At the same time, I have Victor Oshioke. Victor, over to you, sir. Victor, can you hear us?
Yeah. Run the presentation.
Hello, Victor. Can you hear us? Victor, can you hear us? Okay. For some reason, it appears, Victor, I can see you, I can hear you. If you can hear us, we're saying greetings to you, Victor Oshioke.
Yeah, good evening, gentlemen. I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, let me start this evening by allowing Mr. Edwin Agombo to basically take the floor. What is your view regarding the upcoming Edo State election?
So far, we have read and heard a lot of things that led to the situation we are now. This is politics. Godwin Obaseki, the governor of Edo State, and Comrade Adams Oshomole, national chairman of APC, they have come a long way. They worked together for 8 years, but somewhere along the line, the bubble burst. And they didn't come out early to tell the whole world why they had that problem. But from my own point of view, I have been chairman of primaries committees, Congress committees, and there are guidelines of our party to ensure everything is done properly. What I've seen recently is the problem of adhering strictly to the guidelines of the party. So I will stop there and then we'll continue as matters arise.
Okay. So thank you very much. I can see Mr. Charles there smiling already. Mr. Charles, what's your view on the upcoming Edo governorship election?
Yeah, thanks a lot. My brother has spoken well, and he has analyzed the relationship. But very unfortunate, people can be together for 20 years. They don't even know their minds. Along the line, the bubble has busted, and we've seen the difference. And we are waiting for the people to decide who will win.
Okay, so Charles, you alluded to the fact that the bubble has busted. Can you clarify what you mean by the bubble has busted?
It's a conflict of interest.
Hello, Charles. I think you're
8 years working with him, he hasn't really known the mind of Obaseki till Obaseki himself came to power and he saw the difference. It happens in all relationship, and it takes understanding to tolerate one and each other. And very unfortunate, I cannot judge who is wrong or who is right. Okay. But then we are waiting for the Edo people to decide.
Okay. So thank you very much. Mr. Victor Oshioke. Victor, I think you are on the way. So somehow your network probably keeps going up and down. But nonetheless, thank you for finding the time to join this program. So what's your view on the upcoming Edo State election?
Good evening, gentlemen and listeners, viewers. I think the problem is that people keep saying Oshomole and Obaseki. The problem between Oshomole and Obaseki. There's no problem between Oshomole and Obaseki. The problem is that Obaseki has issues with stakeholders of the party in Edo State. And he thought, he miscalculated. He thought by dragging the national chairman into the crisis, that it will be seen that Oshomole is trying to intimidate him with his power as the national chairman. He thought it was going to work. Unfortunately for him, the primaries are a few days away. The strategy has failed. All that Oshomole has ever asked Obaseki is carry everybody along, not share money. Obaseki started by betraying politicians and tagging them as people who want Edo State money to be shared. Let's ask a question. Edo State is the only state in Nigeria where 9 members of a 24-member assembly has been running the assembly for 1 whole year. As we stand today, perhaps all that the assembly has done is unconstitutional because The day the court says that the people who drafted a constitution that said that the minimum number of an assembly in Nigeria should be 24 and the maximum 40, they had a reason. Edo State is being run by a 9-man member assembly. So people should forget this idea that there is a problem between Oshomole and Obaseki. Oshomole is the national chairman of APC. And as far as I know, Edo State is one of the 36 plus the FCT state chapters of the APC. Oshomole is involved in problems in all of them. Obaseki is only trying to magnify the involvement of Oshomole in Edo politics just because he wanted to create the impression that Oshomole is using federal might on him. Now, well, it has come. It's going to be in a few days. We're going to have the primaries. But we'll see what happens. Edo people will decide. And may I just add, if Obaseki, as he claims, is popular, why is he insisting there should be no direct primaries? Why does he have to enact a law to ban public gatherings in Edo State just because he does not want to face the Edo APC electorates? He must face them. He cannot buy his way back, because an indirect primary will mean he will pick a few people, pay their money, and they will give you the ticket. But this time cannot do that, because if I may ask, if he says it's indirect primaries, which faction? There are two factions in Edo State APC today. Which faction will conduct the primary? The only way forward for Edo State is the direct primary, and that's what we have.
Okay, thank you very much, Victor. We started by saying and asking the question, our views on the upcoming Edo State election. I don't think none of the guests here has alluded to the fact there was a conflict between the two. We are just basically building the ground. So we will come to that. Now, as part of that election, I would ask a direct question to you, Victor. What, in the last election, what type of primary was used to elect Obaseki? Was that a direct primary?
It was an indirect primary. And after that election was conducted, may I continue?
Okay, yes.
APC under Oshomole, before the crisis with Obaseki started, whatever, before Edo State primaries issue started, APC has adopted direct primaries as the standard form of primaries in APC, except the state chapter applies for indirect or consensus. So what it means is that the NEC of APC has already approved that the form of primary for APC in Nigeria is, in any state, is direct primaries.
Okay.
Mazi, can I come in here?
So, Edwin, please go ahead. Come in here, please.
Yeah, we started with what is the problem between Obaseki and Oshomole. That is the issue here. And I made it clear that I have conducted primaries as chairman of different primaries. And I said there are guidelines. Victor should not tell us here what is not in our guidelines. What the NEC of APC accepted was that every state chapter will have to inform NEC what form of primaries they want. In some states here, they did the direct, like in Lagos, they did direct. Lagos says chapter, chose direct primaries. In some other states, they did indirect. It is the state, the chapter of the APC that would decide what primaries they want to do. It's not the NEC, National Secretariat, that would decide that. I want Victor to know that when we formed this APC, I was part of those that formed APC. I came in from the CPC Legacy Party. And the first reconciliation committee that was set up by APC, I was the secretary. Chief Oyegun, before he became chairman, was the chairman of that committee. We had Bello Masari there and some other governors. We have guidelines. And what is is happening now is this. When we went into that reconciliation committee, it was stated categorically that the leader of the party in the state is the governor. We tried, in Kano, we went into Kano to resolve that issue between Shekarau and Ganduje, Kwankwaso. We did the same in Sokoto. The thing is, you will remember Shekarau and McCarthy, left the party because we said the party constitution and guidelines is that the governor of the state is a leader. So if you want to be a leader in the state, leave it for the governor. Come to national as a national leader. So Victor, don't bring that in. I am very conversant with the guidelines of the party and the constitution of the party.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Charles, what is your position on the proposition put forward by the by the party to engage on direct primaries in Edo State? Oh, Mr. Charles is dropped again. Okay, now, sorry, for both of you, can I just ask this question? And I will start with Mr. Victor. What's your view on the current governor? Has he performed well in your view? Victor, are you there? Okay, Mr. Edwin Ogumbo, can you give us, please, what's your view on Obaseki's performance so far?
Well, it's a well-known thing that Obaseki has performed very well. That is, if you go to the grassroots, they will tell you what he has done. You see, carrying party leaders, the EPM people came in and they said they installed Obaseki. We listened to Ida Agbon, we listened to Samson Osaigi. Well, once any party member gets the ticket, we will all line up behind him. You don't say you made him. I feel insulted when I'm told that someone, there's some talks are party leaders in my state. That's an insult on some of us. Are you getting me? So you can't say you made the party. The party members, registered card-carrying members of the party, made the governor. Then the electorate in Edo State made the governor, not a clique or a cabal of the party that will make the governor. That is my position.
Okay, so thank you very much. Victor, before I asked a question, but it appeared you didn't get my question. Now, my question to you, Victor, before I go back to Charles is, what's your opinion regarding Obaseki's performance so far in office? Okay, Charles, please, can you pick up that question? What's your view regarding Obaseki's performance so far in office? Charles, can you hear me?
I don't know what is wrong.
Charles,
network is very bad.
Charles, we can hear you. Can you please go ahead?
Yes, thank you very much. My network has been very bad. Or is it the general network?
It is your network.
I've tried both networks. And Obaseki has gravely wronged the members of the party. I supported him in 2016, both cash and kind. The chairman knows, and I'm ready to support the winner again. But the truth still remains. We are all saying it's the party member, it's the party member. When an issue happens between two people in a party, they all go to the chairman, who now decide whether to go to a committee, disciplinary committee, or settle it amicably. But you find they were not satisfied. So they now decide to rob the chairman that is talking about godfatherism. Even in heaven, there's godfatherism. There's a godfather in heaven. In hell, there's godfather. You cannot compare a great man in heaven to Angel Gabriel. But a great man to get to God has to see Angel Gabriel. So what is really happening in Edo State is uncalled for, but it happens for good because God cannot make mistake. If 9 members of the assembly can be on there for how many months? 1 year, and the chairman comes in, you feel he's trying to impose or is bringing his people along, there are ways to settle it. If you go deeply into it, even nobody can tell you the real cause of the problem. Obaseki has gone too far by going to the press to begin to touch Oshomole. We must be very sincere with ourselves. There is elder everywhere. There are people who are your seniors, you have to respect them. And the less you talk, the better. Because any association, you must find people who are talkatives. You must find people who want to disband that association, especially in a political party. He has touched so many people, of which even the people collecting revenue complained. We know he has done wonderfully well. The plans are not his own alone. They are both Oshomole and my own plan. We are APC. We contributed to his victory, and we are still willing to help him again if he can win. But he has to come to a compromise with the chairman, no matter how. Bobo Jesu, I spoke with him the other day, and you cannot really find that they are trying to impose on you. They are trying to impose on you. But the truth still remains. There must be an element of imposition, as you are claiming. There is no way that is not done. One chemical upon one. The human feast on animal, the animal feast on the plant. It's interdependence. There must be structure we follow. But then, I think this thing is very, very uncalled for. Now that he has and let people come and contest with him, it's very unfortunate. If he had gone the right way to find good solution or nice solution to it, he wouldn't have had any.
Okay. I know Charles is gone again. He's got a very poor network. Victor, I bring you in. I hope this time around you're not going to drop. I bring the same question back to you. What's your view on Obaseki's performance? Your candid view, please.
Below 20%. Remember, when Oshomole took over in 2008, Edo State, we all knew where Edo State infrastructure went down. Nothing was schools. Nobody was going to public schools. Oshomole set a standard which Obaseki has been unable to build upon. Remember, we campaigned on continuity. The first thing Obaseki did when he came in, he discontinued. After winning election on the platform of continuity, he discontinued the legacies of Oshomole. I tell you how. First of all, look at the Central Hospital. The hospital was an attempt by Oshomole. It was when his PPS, Oyerinde, was shot that Oshomole went to that hospital and said, what? They said there was no ICU in that hospital. He said, we are going to build a world-class hospital here. He started that project. There was a hitch when it collapsed. Oshomole eventually completed it. I tell you on good authority, everything was supplied in that hospital. But Obaseki, out of envy, malice, hatred, and fear of Oshomole's legacy, tried to deceive and do people that the hospital was unequipped. I am the one who engineered the videoing of all the equipment in the hospital. The videos today, I, Victor Shoke, I spearheaded the videoing of equipment in the hospital. Why did I do it? I knew the way of the time would come. He might even claim that there was something in the hospital. So we went behind and videoed it. Today, why did I do it? I noticed that PDP was attacking Oshomole that there was nothing in the hospital. And we were in an APC government. The government spokesman was not denying that there is something in the hospital. I began to wonder, why would an APC government see people attacking the national chairman that there's nothing in the hospital, and an APC government we installed is unable to defend, unable to open the doors of the hospital to show people that this hospital is equipped? That is what I did, a secret recording of what is in the hospital. Today, we have seen what Obaseki is saying. Obaseki today is investigating Oshomole in an hospital where he was the chief chairman economic team.
Can I ask you a question? Can I ask you a question on that?
Yeah.
I read somewhere that those equipment you alluded to were borrowed from hospitals in Lagos, and after the president commissioned it, those equipment were given back.
Mr. Man,
is there any iota of truth there?
Which hospital in Lagos? Let them tell us the hospital in Lagos they brought for. Number one. Number two, we have the pro forma invoice of those equipments that arrived for the commissioning. Not all the equipments were there for the commissioning. That is the fact. Remember, during the commissioning, Oshomole did tell the president that when the whole equipment ordered arrive, this hospital will be one of the best in the country. We have the pro forma invoice, the money, how CBN, the money was transferred. We have the custom clearance for those equipments that were used for the commissioning. You don't like, he knows. My brother, the State Ministry of Health under Godwin Obaseki in 2017 signed for everything that is in the hospital. We have up to the syringes, up to the laptops, everything. They signed for it in Obaseki's government.
Mazi, can I come in here, please?
So, Edwin, can you respond to that?
Yeah. See, I'm not here to malign anybody's character. I have refrained from even talking about Oshomole as an individual. What we are here to discuss is the issue at hand and also leading to the primaries and eventual election. What Victor is saying, I'm happy that Charles and myself agree that Obaseki has done very well. That's 2 against 1. Victor cannot say in Ghana and be telling us what is happening here.
I'm in Abuja.
Victor is in Abuja. Charles is.
Oh, yeah. So Charles is in Ghana.
Yes.
Oh, Charles is in Ghana. Okay, Victor, this thing is what you are telling us is what you are picking from the social media. I'm telling you, there are structures in this party, and we must keep to it. If we want to go back, what has happened? I fought for Chief Oyegun becoming the substantive national chairman of this party. We know how from Edo State, Oyegun gave Comrade Oshomole as governor the free hand. He never interfered. I also tell you that when Obaseki came in, he made it clear. He wasn't a politician. Oshomole brought him in. He made it clear that he was going to run government and let politicians go to the party office and play politics. This is where people now started saying, oh, he wasn't inviting them or accepting them in the government house. He wants to govern, not to play politics. Allow him play politics. See what all these APM people have been saying. Oh, they go to government house, they are invited for lunch and everything. Oh, when they are going, they give them packages. That is our Commonwealth money. It's not to be spent like that. It's to be spent for development. The hospital you are talking about, right? You said there was a pro forma invoice, and again you contradicted yourself that Oshomole said when all the equipment will come later. But what you are saying, your people are saying that all those equipment were there. like Mazi told us, and that is a fact. Those equipment was just showcase. I was in Benin. Just listen. You have your time. You will have your time. You will have your time.
Go ahead. Yeah.
So there is, they set up an investigating panel. They have come up with a report. The report will show what they see and what they did not see. It's not for you to stay outside this panel and start saying what you want to tell us. We are not dumb. We know what is going on. I don't want to start talking about individual. What we want to say, how did we get to this stage? How did we cross to primaries and eventual election? That's it. The electorate will vote and make a governor, not some individuals. That's my stand.
Okay, that's fine. Victor, can you respond to that question before? Can you respond to what he was saying?
I just want to make a correction. I never said, nobody has ever said the equipment were complete when the place was commissioned. What happened was that because some of these equipments are not what you buy off the counter, they had to be ordered. Remember VAMED, anybody can go Google VAMED. I lived in Austria for 25 years. VAMED is one of the most responsible hospital management and equipment supply company in the world. VAMED, V-A-M-E-D. The contract for the supply of those equipment was given to VAMED. None of them were bought in Nigeria. Now, what happened? Because the commissioning was going to come, it was requested that certain things have to be provided before the commissioning. And VAMED ensured that they brought those equipments in for the commissioning. Subsequently, they started equipping the place. And that is why I say go back to the video of the commissioning. Oshiomhole told Buhari that what you see here is not what this hospital will be. When the equipments we ordered are fully installed, this hospital will be one of the best in the country.
Okay, so Victor, you are now confirming that at the point of commissioning, all the equipments were not there.
Yes. They were not there. Some were there, nothing for the commissioning yet.
Okay, some were there. Now the question is, when we talk about this hospital, that appears to be one thing that everybody talks about in Edo State. Now, one would want to wonder, where are the equipment, even if the ones that was brought under Oshiomole's regime or government, where are those equipment now?
As we speak, and I must say this, even before coronavirus, Oshiomhole ordered for that hospital about 6 ventilators, 4 stationary ventilators, and 2 mobile ventilators that can be carried to wards. The University of Benin Teaching Hospital has a 6-unit ICU. That hospital has a 12-unit ICU built by Oshiomhole. These are verifiable facts. These were all installed before this time. Our problem was this. Why did Obaseki, after these equipments were installed and this hospital was due to be opened, Obaseki locked it for another 1.5 years? That is our problem.
Now,
because he was afraid of the legacy of Adams Oshiomhole.
Okay.
People talking about Obaseki performance. I want to put it. The whole roads, the whole network of roads done by Obaseki is not up to, if you calculate it in kilometers, it is not up to the Auchi, Jatu, Apana, Afawa, Apana, Okpekpe, Imegba Road. The whole network of roads he did in 4 years is not up to that road alone. If you hear the popular Okpekpe race, it was one of those roads built by Oshiomhole. The total kilometers of all the roads Obaseki has done in 4 years is not up to that road alone.
Now, can we get in absolute? Can we get in absolute terms? If I ask you now, what is the total kilometer of road done by Oshiomhole?
Yes.
What is the total kilometer?
Perhaps I cannot give you it. I cannot give you in clear terms. You know why? And I must say one thing. 90% of the roads Obaseki is laying claims today were roles done by C4. I have confirmed that even from his chief of staff who just left him, he was the officer in charge of C4. 90% of the Obaseki's laying claims to were done by World Bank under C4 projects. So the man, my brother, let me tell you, the man has a problem. And I ask you like this. Obaseki claims Oshomole was his godfather. Oshomole gave him the deputy governor. We agreed. Oshomole gave him the SSG. I agreed. But the highest political appointee that Obaseki made was his COS, chief of staff, Taiwo Akerele, and the guy resigned. It tells you the character of Obaseki. Obaseki is an impossible human being. He is an ingrate. He does not recognize performance. He stifles opposition, even within his ranks. And that is why he's commissioner for... Now, I ask you, his chief of staff resigned. His commissioner for information has resigned. And I can tell you, more commissioners will resign because the man is not cut out for leadership.
Sorry, go ahead.
Mazi,
yeah.
Let me see. Let us discuss like enlightened and educated people. When you give that type of contract of the magnitude of Central Hospital, it's called turnkey project. It doesn't come bit by bit. It's a turnkey project. Everything, if VAMED is reputable, like Victor is telling us, everything must be in place and delivered. There is always a time lag for such a project. So don't come and tell us this thing will come in bit and pieces. You know, I've said it. I restrain myself from talking of an individual. What we are here to discuss is how do we go towards the primaries? How do we get our candidate? Thereafter, we support a candidate towards the governorship election. That is it. I have read a lot about what Victor is saying, and I don't want to say what I have read because all these things are not confirmed. Let us stick to what we are here to discuss.
Okay. Sorry, I have to wait in here. We'll come to a point. There are, Edwin and Victor, there are things, both of you appear to be very vibrant on each side. You've written some articles, granted some interviews, and I would be exploring those interviews and articles later. Now, but there is one thing that I picked out when Charles was talking. He said that Obaseki has prevented people collecting revenue. That struck me. Now, what does that mean, Charles? I'm bringing you back here to tell us. What do you mean that by saying that Obaseki has obstructed people who were collecting revenue? Are they collecting the revenue for the state of Edo, or are they collecting this revenue for their pockets? Why would that be an issue of wanting to remove somebody in terms of revenue? Again, I think your network is...
Okay,
Can I help?
Hold on. Here, let me bring Victor. Can you? Yes, go ahead.
Okay, the issue of revenue is so. When you conduct elections, when you do elections, there are people who naturally are not perhaps as educationally, they are not educated, who help you also during your elections. We are not all people capable of getting political appointees, political appointments, or getting employment. There are people who, whether you like the Okonabak Berus, who also helped you in your campaigns. Now, how do you compensate them? How do you employ them? You engage these people in areas where Agberos are needed. For instance, who collects money from drivers? Is it not an Agbero? So, which Agbero are you going to involve? those who helped you in your elections as a way of giving them also an employment. If you don't give them, they become criminals, they become touts. So a good politician knows how to engage all segments of stakeholders who helped his party win elections. Obaseki came out and said they are Agberus. He does not need them. He did not engage them. So he threw away. And these were people who were working even under the Gbedejo government, under the Osunbo government, under the Oshomole government. They were engaged because it is not that you cannot digitalize collection of revenue. But what do you do to the people who manually collect revenue for the government?
Okay.
So through this point on the street, they became a problem.
Okay, so Victor, let me stop. Let me catch up there. You said it is not that you cannot digitalize the collection of revenues. That means Edo State and invariably the nation called Nigeria, if they want, can actually digitalize the such sectors. Now, what I can hear from what everyone is saying is that after winning an election, certain element of revenue collection is given to the underworld in order for you to win the next election.
No, wrong.
Okay.
What we are saying is that in the course of fighting to win an election, you are going to empower
the underdogs. If I use your term, you empower those who are educationally disadvantaged.
Thank you. You cannot
control the underworld
in your election. You must engage them. And what do you give to them? My brother, America can digitalize everything it does today. As human beings, robots can replace human beings. But when we think of what do we do with human beings when we replace them with robots, we think about not involving robots. So what I'm saying is this. We have a large population in Nigeria. If you digitalize everything, you throw people out of work. And so a good politician who wants to create employment would rather have to make a choice between digitalization and manual workers. So when Obaseki came in and digitalized revenue, he threw thousands of people who helped him win election into the street. Chief among them was Tony Kabaka. I can quote their names. Tony Kabaka, Osakwawa Rio, and Shaba. These guys were instrumental to his winning the election. He threw them into the street and they became opposition to him. And he ended up destroying their homes and everything. So that's what I'm saying. We're not hiding it. Oshomole could also have decided to disallow. He did it. Because he had to.
That means if we really here want to move the conversation that we're having this evening using Edo State as a test case, it will now mean, let's take for instance the TSA that the federal government mounts as one of its fantastic achievement, and you hear that there are certain elements, some sectors within Nigeria that doesn't use the TSA. Then you ask yourself, why? Now, if I come down to Edo State, it will now be that if what I'm hearing, correct me if I'm wrong, what I'm hearing now is that the people are beginning to be against Obaseki because he digitalized payment collection. He no longer allowed the payments to filter. He no longer allow people to put their hands in the cookie jar.
No, point of correction. TSA only says that there's one single account for the government.
Yes, but there are some sectors that don't pay into it.
No, every sector must pay to it. So,
but in reality, there are some sectors. We can make that a different discussion for another. But there are some sectors. I know I've written and I've argued against that, but again, what I've been told is that Rome was not built in a day. So,
for instance, let me tell you, revenue collection from market women is not what you digitalize.
You can, of course, you can give them scratch cards.
A scratch card. People, we don't have a problem with whatever you produce a scratch card. What we are saying that you have to make a choice between digitalizing it and throwing people out of work. Remember, you have a population to employ. So you look at the cost benefit of whether it is better to digitalize, because you can make all the money as a government. There is no social network in Nigeria. So when you throw somebody out of work, you throw maybe 10 other people along with the person out of work. Now, a good government, Lagos did not digitalize. Why didn't they?
Yeah,
Lagos can digitalize. What I mean, what I'm saying is this. Perhaps Obaseki is afraid of confronting people to come his wrong choices. I'm not quarreling with the system. I'm going to say there are consequences for everything you do as a leader. And the consequences of his digitalization of revenue collection is what we meet when he goes for direct primaries. And that's why he's running for direct primaries.
Okay, thank you very much. So, you know, that actually, the conversation was actually pushed by Charles Makeleti. Charles, can you please give your response to that? Because I picked up on that. I saw something that is a little bit wonky there. So can you, Charles, make your contribution to that? Charles, I hope you can hear me. Or is your network frozen again? Oh, dear. Okay.
Can I come in again, Mazi?
Yes, please. Yeah. Go on before we go to the next question. We should be...
Yes. Let me say that Victor is missing the point there. I don't have a problem giving such jobs as revenue collection to those he called the lowly people that helped in installing the governor. But where the problem came, the leakages, they collect revenue, it doesn't get to government treasury. That's where the problem is. So when a governor decides to check leakages, because the governor will depend on IGR, internally generated revenue, and there are leakages, and few people are just taking that money. That is where the problem is. So if they go against that, it didn't start by saying, oh, Obaseki just wanted to throw people out of job. Want to do the right thing. He came from a financial background. He runs a financial organization. He knows what it means. And you cannot say that you cannot digitalize or do biometrics for people on the streets, that are selling. It's doable. You must start from somewhere. Like you said, you can give them scratch card. We have done it here, and they remit money to government district. The Board of Inland Revenue will give account of the IGR coming in. Every day you have projection. Every year you have projection. Based on records, these are the revenue that should come into the inland revenue of the government. But if people are not doing it, they collect money, they remit less than about 1% of the total they've collected. That is where the problem is. So Victor should know that. It's not just to throw anybody, people out of job. They are there.
Sorry. Okay. I think Victor just quickly.
I just want to reply to that.
Okay.
Now, a good government will do a cost-benefit analysis of whatever policy he wants to say. Okay. Now, what was the IGR under Oshomole using human manual collection of revenue, and IGR under Obaseki using digitalized?
Do you have the figures? Do you have the figures for comparative analysis?
I have only one figure. Oshomole reached 2 billion monthly.
Okay, so you have only Oshomole's, but you don't have the correct one.
I'm very sure Obaseki has not declared 3 billion. So if he threw thousands of people out of work and he could not get 1 billion, then there's a problem.
Now, I think the issue
you don't have the figure. You don't have the figure.
Okay, because of this conversation, I think I found that interesting because I like facts. I would dig out the Edo State revenue collection, the idea. But let me come back to this once more. Victor, you've been quoted that that Obaseki is frustrating attempts to end Edo APC crisis. That was at the beginning of the year. Now, what is it that Obaseki is doing for you to, make the, for you to allude to the fact that he is blocking the peace, having peace in the party?
I must be very sincere here. You see, what we are experiencing today is a failure of Obaseki's strategy. I don't blame Obaseki. He's not a politician. Some politicians sold him a dummy. They sold him an idea, which he fell for. Unfortunately, these same guys were the people who didn't want him to become governor. Oshiomhole fought them to install Obaseki. And so when they came in, there was no way Obaseki, to be fair to him, he locked the treasury. Nobody was getting, but remember his first budget, his deputy governor refused to attend because he said what was allocated to his office was too small. Then they devised a strategy to open the votes of Edo State to themselves. And they told Obaseki that he does not need Oshiomhole, that he should fight Oshiomhole, that they know Oshiomhole better than he does, that the only way to make sure that he becomes his own man is to start fighting Oshiomhole. And Obaseki, not being a politician, fell for this dummy. And he started a strategy of trying to remove Oshiomhole as national chairman of APC. The day Edo State people will know how much it cost Obaseki to fight, to try to remove Oshiomhole as national chairman of APC, they will stone Obaseki. But he failed. And these same people who saw this strategy for him, where are they today? One of the reasons why the chief of staff resigned was that he was the person telling Obaseki, please, don't listen to these people. Oshiomhole lost more than them. You have come a long way to Oshiomhole. These people are still angry at Oshiomhole for making you governor. And that is why they sold him a dummy to fight. He frustrated. I am sorry to say I'm an insider. I don't have to tell you I'm an insider, but I know how many attempts were made to reconcile Oshiomhole and Obaseki, which Obaseki rebuked. The day Obaseki came out and said, it is a fight to the finish. I want to ask you, have you ever heard a politician in the world say it is a fight to the finish with the national chairman of his own party? Give me just give me one. For you to go on national television and say it is a fight to the finish with the national chairman of your party. To be sincere, to be fair, Oshiomhole is well known in Nigeria as someone who talks a lot. But concerning the issue with Obaseki, he refused to talk because he was overwhelmed. He was compounded. He was shocked silence by Obaseki's behavior. So he couldn't talk. Obaseki was talking more than him. The deputy governor came to Abuja and said he came to order the IG to arrest Oshiomhole, the national chairman of your party.
Okay.
Who has never done this?
Okay, Victor.
They never. And let me use the final word. They were not fighting Oshiomhole to subdue him. They were fighting Oshiomhole to destroy him.
Okay. So Victor, let me
them. They were fighting to finish it politically, and they failed.
Quite understandable. Now, let me, in view of what you have said, there is something that anyone who has his senses intact watching us now will be asking himself or herself. And that question is, what is the reason why these two elephants are fighting? Is anyone able to tell us the reason? Because all we hear now, you alluded and you said it yourself, that Obaseki locked the treasury. Those are your words, that he locked. Now,
yes.
Anyone who is an advocate of good governance will now think, hey, well done. That is a very good thing to do, that someone is actually looking the treasury. The question then thereof is, what is it that these two men are fighting for?
And I'll tell you about it. And I'll tell you exclusively. It started like this. Obaseki came in, he locked the treasury. Politicians were crying. They were coming to Oshomola and he said, go back to Obaseki. And I can quote one. Charles Idahosa, who is today in Soto Oshomola. I was present when Obaseki came to Oshomola's house. They were going to the dining. And Charles Idahosa was coming in. And Oshomola heard him and said, come. He said, leave me alone. Now you they made this man get power over us. He started using or complimenting words on Obaseki. I'm telling you, this is what happened at Oshomola's house. Obaseki can testify to it. Idahosa can testify to it. Oshomola said, come. He dragged him. They went inside. Idahosa was one of the biggest critics of Obaseki. Now, what went wrong? When they discovered that Obaseki was not opening the treasury for them, and Oshomola was siding with Obaseki, then the people who knew how to manipulate Obaseki because of the police went to him and told him, look, this man you see will not give you a second tenure. If you wait till the end of the day, you'll be like Ambode. So fight him now. Start fighting him now. Shout. Let the world hear you. That he is trying to... My brother, let Obaseki come out. Did Oshomola ask him to give you any money? As Obaseki said, Oshomola asked for any money from him? No. We know people who were giving money to godfathers in the door. Did Obaseki ever give money to Oshomola? No. Oshomola does not need this money. Did he tell Obaseki, you must constitute this board this way? Nothing. So it was simply some people who are professional politicians, who know how to professional manipulators, manipulated Obaseki because they had no access to the treasury. His own people in his cabinet.
I like that.
Let me copy Mazi.
I like that part when you honestly, I like it when people talk candidly here, because what I can hear you say consistently is that the man locked
the treasury.
That should be a good thing to anyone who wants the progress of a state.
He locked the treasury until the point he fell for them, and then he opened.
Okay, let me fill in the gap. Gap. You see, the big thing is Victor is talking.
The only way they could have access to the money is when there's a crisis. So they created this crisis, manufactured it, and sold it to Obaseki. He fell for it. And then
you have said that many times. You have said that many times. Edwin, Victor, I understand him.
Now, Edwin, in answering that question, I want you to answer the question I posed to Victor. What is the crisis all about? What is the crisis all about? The crisis.
Before I come to that, let me say something. Victor said he's an insider. I have not claimed that I'm an insider. So here we know, because I've read a lot of things, that one Lukman also an insider in Edo APC. What he wrote, I don't depend on that to discuss issues. What I want to tell Victor, I understand him. That's the reason, Nigerians say typical politicians. When we set up this APC, the youth organized a conference. I was there. Tifoyego was there. Tipado Ogbe was there. Later, Dr. Hassan Lawa was there. What did we tell our youth? When you come into politics, you must have a second address. What does that mean? You don't take politics as a professional listing. You must have what you are doing that will sustain you. When these politicians are talking and will say, oh, the governor or the government must service them, that is wrong. We must move away from there. That is the point I want to make to Victor. Your question asking me, where did it start? I'm not an insider on both sides. Are you getting me? Yes. Victor said he is an insider, and have read an insider account. Lukman wrote a lot, but I'm not bringing that in. But again, I want to stress, I'm not attacking any person. We are discussing APC, we are discussing Edo State. What do we do to move Edo State forward? That is my concern.
Can I ask both of you this question? And I want a candid answer on this question. I'll start with Victor. What is the role of Bola Ahmed Tinubu to this Edo crisis?
Bulama?
No. What is the role of the APC national leader, Ahmed Tinubu, in this Edo crisis?
He has nothing. He has nothing except that I believe he must have been hearing Obaseki and people shouting Edo is not Lagos. They started this by shouting Edo is not Lagos, Edo is not Lagos. And then last week they ran to Lagos. They want Edo to be Lagos. So the point about it is that, as far as I know, credible information I have is that he said the best way to know who is popular is direct primaries. I mean, let me explain to you. I think every normal human being will want us to have it. Let me not use the word normal. Any sincere, any democratic human being, anybody with democratic credentials will want Edo to have a direct primaries. Why? There are two factions of APC in Edo State. No, we can no longer deny it. There are two factions. So, if it's indirect, which faction are you going to use? If you use a faction and the court eventually rules that faction is not the authentic faction, okay? It means that it will be cancelled like Zamfara. So the only way to have a credible primaries in Edo State is to have a direct primaries, which means that all the factions, everybody will vote, which means that invariably, the popular candidate will win, the popular aspirant. So that's the point. Anybody advocating for indirect primary in Edo State is trying to stifle the will of the APC electorates in Edo because there is a faction. So which faction is going to conduct the primaries? You say, let it be indirect. So the only way forward for us, let's be sincere. I am not telling you we win. Obaseki may win. But let it be through a democratic process, which is through direct primaries in every ward, in 192 wards of the state. Let primaries be held and let them choose who they want.
Okay, so I posed the same question to you, Edwin Ogumbo. What do you think there is any link to Bola Ahmed Tinubu to this crisis in Edo State?
Well, when some governors went to Lagos and met our leader, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, he made his position clear. He wants a level playing ground for all aspirants. Whether that was what he said, I will also put it to Victor. Direct or indirect, it's not the first time the APC in the states are using it. Some have used direct, some have used indirect. What? Direct or indirect? Listen, the state ESCO, National Working State Working Committee, would decide on what type of primaries they want to use. When they do that, they send to the National Working Committee that will present to National ESCO Why? They ratify it. That is what is done. All these things start from bottom up. It's the state that will decide what primaries they want to use. I have made, they would answer your question. Our leader, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, made it clear that he wanted a level playing ground. Let everybody go and compete on the field. So that, from my own side, that is what I know is said. I say, in politics, people say many things. People come out with different stories. People will tell you, governors went to meet Ahmed Bola Tinubu. They were not there with them. They didn't know what they discussed. The same thing, people will say, oh, they met President Buhari. And the Buhari will meet whoever in closed door meeting. They'll come out and tell you, oh, Buhari said this. That's his politics.
You have to put this context of what they went to ask for. Obaseki was asking for a right of first refusal.
Well, listen.
Okay,
You were not there.
Okay,
you were not there. Yeah.
Okay, hold on, gentlemen. Let's for one minute accept that what he went to ask Ahmed Bola Tinubu is the right of first refusal.
Yes.
Is that not within his right as a sitting governor to ask for? I mean, we have a precedent here.
No, we have the right.
We have President Muhammadu Buhari, who was elected under the platform of APC, even when he was sick and when the people of Nigeria considered him that he hasn't done enough to seek re-election. Hold on. Now, the party itself, in their wisdom, thought for them to be able to win the next election, they gave him the ticket. So why not do the same thing if he says, well, I'm not going to? Now, I'm going to let's to the next question. Isn't it then absurd for you to go back and bring someone whom the party leader has castigated, has said in public during campaign that the reason why he didn't give him job is that he's not trustworthy, that the reason why XYZ happened. Now, the same man now, or does it mean that the man has been washed, as the party leader once said in a campaign ground, that the moment you join the APC, your sins will be washed? Does it mean that the sins of the person in question has been washed?
Okay, I answered. You asked 3 questions. Now, the first is about Obaseki has the right to ask for right of first refusal.
Yes.
I have denied. 1. 2. We cannot feed Obaseki because we will lose. If you remember, those people, those 14 members of the House of Assembly, all won elections in their 14 constituencies that he has refused to swear in. These guys control their constituencies. We know that Obaseki will lose if we field him. And that's why we will not field him. I am not in support of fielding him. He might still win the primaries, but I am not in support of fielding him. Because he will lose. He has created too many enemies with stakeholders to be able to win a credible election in Edo State. That's 2. Number 3, you talk about Izeamu. Well, I worked in the media department of Edo State when we were campaigning for Obaseki. I was executive director of media to Governor Shomole. Every campaign we did against Obaseki, Izeamu, was done in my office. And I can tell you, most of those information were provided to Obaseki.
So does it mean that you people knew and you did a campaign of calumny?
The information we based our attacks on Izeamu.
Okay.
I think. Go on.
Can you jump in? Can you jump in there? I mean, because I find it a little bit absurd that in one hand you say someone is not not right, is not fit for elective office, and suddenly the same person becomes into your party and you are now pushing that same person down the throat of the people of Edo. What's your take?
the first thing we'll ask Victor, why did Ijeyamu leave APC for PDP? Let him answer that, because I know it was a quarrel between Ijeyamu and some few leaders, Tony Omwage and Arawele. They had a problem with Oshomole. They left for PDP. Let him answer that one. Hello?
Yes, I'm listening. Again, aren't our politicians not ashamed of and are politicians not really ashamed of jumpology? What I refer to as jumpology.
Exactly. Now,
A to B to C, back
C,
again,
and then you come back to your vomit. That is unacceptable. What Victor just told us now, right? He said all those information, all those things they use against Ijeyamu was generated from his office. What he's saying, if I want to believe him, they were all false. In the same vein, what he's saying about Obaseki, generating all these lies from his office, they are all false. I think you understand what I'm saying, Martin.
You're trying to use deductive analysis to knock him out.
Of course. I mean, let's reason. Let's reason. You generated false information if I want to believe him against Ijeyamu. Now you are now saying, by implication, that those information were wrong, were false. So why do we have to believe in what he's saying about Obaseki? Let's be reasonable here.
Okay, so now we will be rounding up now. My last question will be, what is your, do you believe that Obaseki will win the next primary? And what will be if eventually the party insists on direct primaries?
From the listing, what we have now, the recent listing, I'm sure you would have read about the Gazette, the governor brought out. What led to that? People should know. The Minister of Health and the DG NCDC went to Edo State to look at the situation against the background of COVID-19. They advised that doing direct primaries, they did not advise again, what they said was this: coronavirus in Edo State is on the increase and it will peak towards that June 22nd, 23rd, like that. So the governor, as the governor of the state, the same way Wike did in Rivers, has the mandate, the right to listen to what the professionals, health professionals, gave him. And then it will not be feasible to do a direct primaries. That is it. Because when you're doing direct primaries, we're going to do in all the wards and local government and up to states. And there's this social distancing, and also a maximum of 20 people must be in one place at a time. Who is going to monitor that? The reason is he came out with that Gazette and also canvassing that the stadium is big enough. The delegates in Edo State are just 4,000 or something like that. The capacity of Ogbe Stadium is about 10,000. You can space. You can do that to social distancing for these people. That is where we are. Well, the dynamics of Edo politics, you have Edo South, Edo Central, and Edo North. We know Edo South predominantly has about 50-something plus % of the total population and voting strength. Obaseki is from Edo South. And most of the people, I'll tell you, championing this coming together, is the first time I'm hearing like an association of aspirants trying to unseat an incumbent. It has never happened. So most of them are even from Edo South. Are you getting me? That is where the problem is. If Obaseki gets the ticket through these primaries, whether direct or indirect. Obaseki has told us he's not afraid of any direct or indirect primaries, but we must follow the rules and professional advice, especially in this situation we are now. If he gets the ticket, I will tell you Obaseki will win Edo State.
Okay. So, but what if, the question now is, what if the party go, are you very confident that if eventually, by whatever means, you know, I mean, Nigeria, no one can say never, because you see people even go into court on a Sunday and still come out with court injunction on a Sunday. So it does happen. The question is, if by any chance the election goes into indirect or rather direct primary, do you still have confidence that even in direct primaries that he might win the election?
Like I said, I'm not contesting. The person on the seat, Obaseki, has told us he's not afraid of any type of primaries he wants to do. So he knows where his strength lies. And when it comes to direct, he will play his own game. I'm not the one on that seat. You understand me?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's what, again, you mentioned we talk about the judiciary. Yes, at the end of the day, the judiciary will decide. In all these problems, it will end at the judiciary. You know, Zamfara went to court. Bayelsa, you know, went to court. Rivers, they went, and some other states. So it will now rest finally on the judiciary to interpret the constitution of the party, to also look at the guidelines for all these processes we are talking about. So, you know, when they come out with their judgment, everybody will abide by it.
It is, you know, once more, we will be rounding up, but I found it, you know, once as the conversation progressed, that the issues here cannot be pinned to something, but it appears that some people, the political jobbers, I use that very carefully, quote unquote, are not happy in Edo State because the treasury, in the words of our guest, has been
locked up.
So, and you ask yourself, isn't this the reason why we elect government to be accountable, to do these things that we can sit on the sideline and say these are things that ought to happen? But now these things are happening, and it appears the same people that ought to be jubilating are the people not happy that things, you know, I don't know. I might have to give, you know, if you're watching me from Edo State, you know, if you're from Edo, if you're from the diaspora, if you're in Nigeria and you're watching us from YouTube and or Facebook. Now, if you want to make your contribution, you can see the number on your screen. You can call this number, WhatsApp only. Let us hear the feeling of the common man in Edo, someone who is on the street, someone who is not a politician, who is not interested if the governor wins or loses, but we need to hear people. How do you, what do you think is the best thing to happen in your state? It's the governor. If he wins, is it doing enough for you as someone from Edo? If he wins, is that going to help you? Or, let's hear your view. Because this evening I had Victor Oshioke, and I still have here Chief Edwin Osa Ogombo, and I had the Charles Mesheleti, that is the APC chairman, who rang in from Ghana. So it has been a very fantastic conversation, and I thank you, Mr. Edwin, for still being part of this conversation. At the end of the day, the thing is, it is all about Edo State, head or tail. Even if they don't, even if Obaseki doesn't come back, it is still about Edo State. It is a call for the Edo State people to actually take their own destiny in their hands. If they really want to have a new Edo and, understand that governance, the way it has been done over the years past, that governance should, must change, and that people must be held accountable. When you people contribute to 1 naira, that 1 naira must be accounted for. It must be seen that the funds of Edo is being used for the betterment of Edo State.
Yeah.
On that note, I will say thank you once more, sir. In your closing, you can give us your closing remark, and we do hope that Edo people would eventually make the right choice. We're not here to, influence them. We just to discuss, because we think a lot has been happening on the political space in Edo State. Your closing thoughts, sir.
Right. Let me pick on what Victor said. The kilometers of road done by Comrade Oshomole as the governor, that was in 8 years. Obaseki has not done 4 years. But the pillar from Edo State, is that he's doing well. He deserves a second term to complete what he started. The last 1 year now is being wasted politicking. It's been there's a distraction here and there, but he's doing well. Let him get a second term to complete 8, and all the programs lined up will be executed. And again,
sorry, we have a caller on the line here. Sorry, can you, caller, where are you calling from?
Yeah, good morning, please. I'm Antonio Jambolo. I'm calling from the US.
Okay, you're calling from the US. Okay, go ahead. What's your contribution?
Yes, sir, please. There's a saying that it is foolhardy for us to continue to do the same thing over and over again and expect a different result.
Yes.
This is a man that came on board. No, Oshomole came on board when there was the need to go against the atrocities committed against our people by PDP, quote unquote.
Yes.
We were disappointed in the 8 years of Block Radio. When Oshomole came on board, he wasn't a perfect human being. He wasn't the best material that those same people had. But because of the need for a change, all of us put our lives on the line. I was almost assassinated because of bringing about that change. All in the name of getting something for those people, not for the politicians. As it has always been. So, Oshomole came on board, he wasn't even financially okay. All of us know what it takes to partake in politics, especially in the Nigerian setting. People came together, raising money to sponsor this guy. We all believe he had the boldness, he had the courage, he had the voice, to speak against the Santos group, which was PDP then. I just again as a councillor, not because of just grabbing power to being a councillor. We supported somebody of our women. This country you're talking about, sometimes people call him an immigrant. I don't want to go into who is really an immigrant. The first money that was raised, to assist Oshomole to actualize his dream. Part of those money came from Godwin and his friends. The message there was, don't forget, Oshomole was in labor. Oshomole came to Godwin like, we know you have the capacity to. But you must not be the PDP, because no matter what you are bringing on board, PDP will consume you and your ideas. It will not fly. He also tried PDP, he was not even accepted. He came to Godwin, Godwin said, just tell us you are ready, who will provide the means. He said that. He said that openly to the public.
Okay.
He said that openly that Godwin was instrumental to most of his achievements. This is a man, he brought Godwin, he wasn't a politician. Godwin wasn't a politician. He came to South Oshomole, told us, Godwin served me for 8 years. He even proposed to he wanted to name one building he called it as after Obaseki. What could be more than that? He told us during the campaign that Obaseki was the has achieved so far. That Obaseki worked for him without collecting money. He wasn't in the original position that would come for contract. That he doesn't come for publicity. That was exactly achieved. Okay, let me not take too much of your time. Let me conclude by telling you, you being assistant Oshomole in coming aboard. To whom disappointed.
That's
And
correct.
what is good for the goose is also good for the gander.
Yes.
But he was a man living. He saw the need, to continue, he had a deputy that was loyal to him for 8 years. He worked against Odubu. He worked against so many people. He worked against the so-called Israel. Now that they're trying to break one at the side. He said, if I want to help one and set the Brazilian Israel, we are from those states. We are going there, we are there.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Sorry, thank you very much. You've made your point. You've made your point. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. You have made your point. Thank you. Sorry, Ayola, go on. You're on. Go on now. You're on. What's your contribution?
Okay, my contribution to start with, I want to commend.
Sorry, Ayola, move. Sorry, Ayola, move away from where you're. I'm having a feedback from you. You're watching me and you're answering the same call. Turn off whatever you're watching me from. I will cut you off. Sorry. Okay, so who is this? Where are you calling from?
My name is Lehi. I'm calling from Australia.
Okay, make your contribution quickly.
Yes, I'm a pure Edo boy. I'm in my 30s. I experienced Loki, I experienced Oshomole, and now Obaseki is here. So my point is that with these three people, as a common ground, what have the Edo people gained? I'll tell you. For Oshomole, we gained Togri. He gave us school. He gave us, but it was just like Loki. But now we have Obaseki. Obaseki is different in different ramifications. Now we don't have Togri in Edo State. Now you can buy a land and build on it without you being afraid of these land grabbers. And I keep asking myself, what has this man done wrong?
Okay.
Are you getting me?
Yes.
What has this man done wrong? What do Edo people want? But I know Nigeria is a place where politics is played by godfathers. But if Edo people are sincere, Obaseki should be given a second chance.
Okay.
This man to me has given us everything in Benin City that we need. At least you can go and know your life is safe. All these people that is fighting him, ask them, what did this man do wrong that Oshomole did not do worse?
Okay.
That's simple. I don't know what they want. It's annoying when I see people talking like, are you for real?
Okay. Thank you very much.
That's my contribution.
Thank you very much. So, Ayola, once more, can you make your contribution?
Yeah.
Yes, I can hear you better now.
Okay. First and foremost, I want to commend Media TV and all the staff that you invited.
Yes.
Especially Mr. Okumbo.
Yes.
And moving forward, I think based on what we have been seeing and watching on social media and on internet, I basically believe that it is not ideal and it's very derogatory the way the party leadership, especially in the name of the national leader of the party, Adam Oshomole, is really working against the performing governor of that state. Though I'm not from the state, I'm not from that state, but I'm from Nigeria. And we could see how what is said against the person that is now anointed to be the next governor of the state. So it's very shaming that such a person could be leading such a party, the most populated, the ruling party, the most populated black nation on earth. We heard all he said, and during the campaign, during the past, and now we are seeing him anointing the person. Even those because he's on edge. He's on edge off. Against even all the credible candidates that will compete against this man. It's the same man that have been flip-flopping from one party to another, you now brought in again. And secondly, listen to the speakers, the contributors you brought on the show. Mr. Victor that claimed to have lived in diaspora before is so derogatory also. Because all they have been talking about is about treasury. And open treasury for certain people to dig into. And in reality, if we continue to do this, if we continue to behave this way, we will hardly develop the way we want to develop.
Yes, that's...
Conclusively, I will say that all the people, whoever Mr. Ogumbo, whoever the president of the country, all the political leaders should try as much as possible to see that they try to manage this crisis so that the party, so that this man, Obaseki, could win the primaries, then could be the next governor that could continue what he has, the next 4 years to complete the great work he has started for the people of that state.
Okay.
In conclusively, please, I contested under that party in Lagos State last election. Direct primaries was something we cannot be proud of. And considering what is happening now, COVID-19, the direct primary they are talking about is bullshit. How to be carried with you.
So what you're saying is that when you contested the election in the last election in Lagos State, so it means what you're saying, you contested under the APC and you're saying it publicly that the APC direct primary is a fraud.
It's a fraud. Nothing like that. Even for the president, nothing like that. It was a fraud. Let us call it straight. It was a fraud.
Okay.
Not that people be deceiving ourselves.
Did you? I take it that you didn't win that election. That's why, is it?
No, it's not about winning the election. I didn't even vote for myself. I was unable to vote for myself. We didn't even know the time we were voting. It was around 6 o'clock in the morning I was called upon. It's not about the winning election because I had the best experience of my life going for that. And it's not about winning. We talk about the journey, not the destination per se.
Yes, that's correct.
But the problem was a fraud. From the presidential to the governorship, the reality is this. I can't be living in diaspora, see how things is being done. And we keep deceiving ourselves back home, saying these and this. The primary that was organized, I'm saying it live. I put it in the paper. They asked me to file a complaint. I said no. Because from the beginning they knew what they wanted. The reality was considering the COVID-19, I think indirect primaries is the best way for them to go.
So from what you're saying, you almost had the same experience with Professor Patu Jume that never knew the venue of an election.
That's
and by the time he got to know the venue of an election, the election is
the result was announced.
I will tell you this. We even knew the venue. But the way they conducted it, that's why before I came. I will tell you, I even said this all I can do it for free. I had a lot of people on my side, especially the Hausa people. They wanted to cause Zion, but I told them it doesn't want it. It doesn't want it. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't want the life of it because in the House of Rep election, 3 people were killed in my constituency because of that. Even if it was the person that took turn, they gave the party ticket. Please let us stop deceiving ourselves. Indirect primaries is the best they can do for now.
Anyway.
They I will tell you, maybe I will have the opportunity of coming live to talk about this. Even they brought the party, the INEC is acting for the party register. Which is, I will tell you this. People were even selling. They were even selling the ticket. They were selling for the highest bidder. You can buy. They were counting people 2 times, 3 times, 1 time. People to stop deceiving themselves. I think our democracy is still very flawed, but we are growing. We will get there. But we should try. The people of Edo State, even if they are not, they should try as much as possible to support this man. Because the only reason we are hearing now The only reason they are saying that the man cannot go is because he's fighting with some people that don't have, they have told the party to be their first job. You know, at the detriment of others. They were saying that they are giving this man that called himself that live in diaspora for certain years is talking about not giving tax collection to revenue collection to town. Even when it was compared to Lagos, the way Lagos has been organized is different. The Lagos state, if Tinubu is using those guys, he used Nigerian Unions of Road Transport Workers, establish not just one agbero or whatever, not just one agbero. No, there are a lot of ways we could do this, and they said it's not even about the collection, it's about the state not getting the money. You've listened to both of them. I listened to someone, please, before you come in, I listened to someone when they're talking about the hospital. They were talking as if it was cash and carry. You know, you pay 75% to a company, they are not surprised, they're asking them to pay the remaining 25%. Where on earth is that been done?
Anyway.
Where on earth is it been done? Please, I just conclusively, please, we just try to work it out. Because at the end of the day, who is going to suffer? It's not Obaseki or Shomole. It's the masses.
Yes.
It's the citizens of Edo State.
That's
because
correct.
they're going to get the wrong candidate. At the end of the day, the same thing, they will be back to square one. Thank you very much. That's my contribution.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Ayola Lawal. Thank you. So, Mr. Edwin, you've had the call of at least 3 people so far. You know, you've heard what they all say. I don't know. You know, what do you have any more further contributions to add to what they've said?
Well, no, not really. I don't have any. I don't have more contribution. What I have to say, the 3 people that called in supported that Obaseki should be given a second term, and what they have said, I think they all called from the diaspora. That is what is happening outside there. There should be a paradigm shift from what has been going before to a new shift. That is what will save this country. That was what will help the masses of this country. The government is there mainly for the masses, not for those exploiting the masses. When these things are done, when the IGR revenue collection is really monitored, I'll tell you, whether it was a joke or not, somebody collecting 100 million in a month and will remit 100,000 to state government. How do you account for that? Where do you know the other millions? Where is it going to? To individual pockets? No, it's not acceptable. Let us make a shift. This government, APC, came on the mantra of change. And you see people frustrating change. When they start blaming the president, we know where it is. I am a chairman of a governing council, and I know what it is there. The system will come after you. You know, President Buhari said it. When you fight corruption, corruption will come, fighting you. That is what is happening. Until we know, like I pointed out to Oshioke, we advise our youth, APC youth, led by Ishmael Ahmed, is SA in the presidency now. We told them you must have a second address. Politics is not a profession. It is just, what you come in, you have your address, an office or business you do that will sustain you. That's the reason you see people, they come into government, they have an appointment, they do all sorts of things. Once they are out, give them 2 years. You want to look at the way they are because they don't have anything to fall back on. I thank you for inviting me to this program, and if you can, I will always be available, to talk with you and other reasonable people on the platform. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you for being part of this evening, and the viewers watching from home. It's been a pleasure having all of us this evening, listening to the divergence view coming out of Edo State. All we ask, as I've said before, in conclusion, that the people of Edo State will be given the free hand to select who they want to be their governor based on all the indices that they've seen. I mean, they live in Edo, they work in Edo, they pay their taxes in Edo. Now, do not, in some cases, listen to those that have vested interests. Make a choice, liberate yourself, and stand for something that generations unborn will be proud of. Once more, thank you everyone for joining us this evening. I remain one and your only Mazi Ezoke. You remain blessed.